Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness video, where today we will be completing the game with the Rhydon line. Now, I do think that this could go fairly smoothly, however, Rhydon has a lot of key things that could definitely hold it back, but it also has a lot of things that could definitely make it go a lot faster than I think it might. So with that, let's go ahead and get right into it. For base stats, Rhyhorn has 80 HP, 85 attack, 95 defense, 30 special attack, 30 special defense, and 25 speed, and gets access to a wide variety of moves actually, including normal, rock, ground, ice, electric, fire, and normal, which is all very nice to have. The problem is that I don't think it's going to be able to use a lot of those elemental types that are on the special side very well because of its low special attack stat. And it mostly only gets access to normal moves at the beginning, so I could see that definitely causing a lot of issue early on, but hopefully it doesn't hold it back too much. Anyway, our Rhyhorn has a mild nature, which raises its special attack but lowers its defense. Not that great, but we already do have a really decent defense stat, so it could still come in handy for using some of those elemental types. It also gets access to the Rockhead ability, which makes it so I don't take recoil damage from moves like Double Edge. It could also get Lightning Rod, but because I'm already a ground type, that wouldn't do anything, so I decided not to get it. And at level 10, according to Bulbapedia, it gets Horn Attack, Tail Whip, and Stomp. And Stomp is the best of those because it actually has a chance to flinch. So with that, the early game goes fairly smoothly. I do a bit of extra training, and I come up on this fight where I usually fight this guy. And at this point, I don't think there's really any chance I win. Water Gun's doing a ton of damage to me. And then comes out the Shroomish, which can do 4 times effective grass damage, or the Ever could just hit me with Ice Punch. And that's something I neglected to mention during the stats page, is because it's rock and ground, it's actually 4 times weak to both water and grass. And despite that, somehow I beat this battle and move on. And we go on to the Cypher base against the Power Rangers, and I decided to choose Brown because his Hoot Hoot can't do much damage to me, and as long as I can get the Baltoy taken down, I should be safe. However, Baltoy looks to be a 5-shot, and I've already taken more than half my health and damage, so unless I get a crit, I'm going to lose. I got one last chance. I don't get it, and Baltoy finishes me off. Okay, well after a little bit of Mount Battle training, I come back at level 17, where I eventually win. Anyway, let's start rambling a little bit. If you are enjoying this video so far, consider liking, and if you have any Pokemon suggestions, please put them down below. And I just want to know, do you guys actually want me to respond to the comments? I've been very, I guess, reclusive, I suppose. Anyway, now that we're finished with Green, we move on, and I'm going to go ahead and teach Rhyhorn Mimic here, and that's because I can't actually hit any Ghost types at the moment. So I run into the base and there's immediately a Ghost type. Anyway, further into the base, I run into this battle with Naps. He also has a Rhyhorn, which is notable because I usually show all the Rhyhorns. But more specifically, it's a Rhyhorn with a Mud Shot. In this game, Rhyhorn cannot get Mud Shot without being tutored from Ruby, Sapphire, or maybe Emerald, and then brought over to this game. So that means that Naps isn't from this region, and is likely an undercover looker agent looking into the misdeeds of this region. Anyway, at level 29 we will learn Rock Blast, which is going to be very helpful for actually taking down Naps, because I couldn't actually one-shot the Murkrow, but with Rock Blast I can. Anyway, we move on to the first boss of the game, Loverina, who leads with a Love Disc and a Beautifly. And, you know, after that hard-fought battle, I think that I'm a high enough level to where I can take her down. No, not even close, actually. So, after a lot of leveling, I get up to level 38 and learn Horn Drill. Now, Horn Drill's not very good because it's only 30% accurate, but it one-shots anything that doesn't have the Sturdy ability, so it can come in handy occasionally. Anyway, at this level, I go back into battle. Now I can one-shot the Love Disc, but as you can see, the damage is still very high. I take down the Roselia in a single hit, out comes Delcatty, which is the biggest threat that she's got. And I think in levels prior, it was a 3-shot with Rock Blast, now it's only a 2, so I'm able to take it down. and then all that's left is the Beautifly, which I use Stomp and take down in a single hit. So that took 6 attempts. Anyway, we move on to the obligatory Mirror Bee. Hello Mirror Bee, how's it going? Well, that's really good to hear. We'll see you later, Mirror Bee. We move on and we find another Rhyhorn, and we use the not so cool animation for Horn Drill. But there's no time for that because at level 42, our Rhyhorn evolves into Rhydon, which should hopefully help us get past some of those harder fights in the game. And of course, with the new evolution, means new stats. Rhydon has 105 HP, 130 attack, 120 defense, 45 special attack, 45 special defense, and 40 speed. So yeah, we're definitely still extremely weak to anything on the special side, including our 2 4x weaknesses. However, we do hit extremely hard, are very tanky physically, and have a pretty decent HP stat, so hopefully that's not an issue. The big issue is that our speed is still extremely low, so many of the threats later on will be able to outspeed us. Anyway, we go to the Railgun Tower, and I pick up my 2 favorite TMs, Hidden Power and Protect, and I'm going to teach Hidden Power right away, which happens to be Hidden Power Fighting, which I guess isn't too bad. It allows us to hit the rock types that we couldn't hit before, and also right on foot. Another janky animation that made me laugh when I first saw it. And at the Tutor Lady, I pick up Body Slam, which is just going to be an upgrade to Stomp, and we move on to the battle against Snaddle. And this is actually the second attempt because the first one I came in pretty damaged, and that's basically the only reason I lost. So I go back into it. I'm actually able to one-shot the Lantern. I'm not able to one-shot the Lunatone though. So I do have to deal with Shadow Sky and a Shadow Wave, which does a decent amount of damage. I take down the Lunatone, out comes Cast Form. Rock Tombs aren't going to do very much damage to me at all, and I'm already pretty slow anyway, so it doesn't really mean much. That Water Pulse actually does quite a bit of damage to me, so I take down the Cast Form immediately. Out comes Matang. And this is probably where Hidden Power Fighting is going to be the most useful, because at least it does decent damage to it. Actually, it nearly one-shots, and the Fruity Pebbles finish it off. Okay, well that was actually very clean, and I should be able to take down the Quagsire now and finish this battle. Second attempt. And we move right along onto the next fight against Gonzap. He leads with a Nuzleaf and an Electrode, and because the Electrode can't actually hit me with Spark, I didn't bother teaching Protect either. However, Static is still an issue, so I use Rock Blast to negate that. And the Nuzleaf seems to just be going for Feint Attack this time, probably because I have a much lower special defense stat. I'm able to take down the Vileplume in a single hit. Not nearly the Whiscash though. It gets a Rock Tomb off, making me a little bit slower, but I don't think it really matters. I finish off the Whiscash, and then out comes the Skarmory. I use Rock Blast into it, thinking it'll do the most amount of damage. Because it's neutral, it hits 3 times, but it's not enough to take it down. So I use Hidden Power to finish it off. And then all that's left is the Nuzleaf. One last Feint Attack doesn't get a crit, so I'm able to take it down. And that's Gonzap. Okay, well, climbing up the pyramid, I run into another Rhyhorn. Goodbye, Rhyhorn. And at the top of the tower, I learn Earthquake. Funnily enough, I'm at level 55. If I had just waited another level, I would have gotten Earthquake anyway. So, let's move on to the Gorgon fight. So, I am a ground type, and I have Earthquake. So the plan here is very simple. I use Earthquake. He brings out Earthring and Primeape. I go for another Earthquake. I'm actually outsped, but he's not doing enough damage to take me down. And both of them go down, and then all that's left is the Hypno. And Hypno definitely isn't faster, so I finish it off with yet another Earthquake. And before I move on to the last area of the game, I go ahead and teach Double Edge over Body Slam because I have the Rocket ability. Now at the Robo-Kyogre to take off to the final area, we're definitely not doing that great. But Earthquake definitely makes this last area a lot faster, so maybe it'll be able to speed up just a bit. Anyway, I go into the battle against Lavrina, and I use Earthquake on both of her leads. And here's where I accidentally messed up. I meant to use Double Edge on the Farfetch'd instead of the Roselia. So now I'm probably going to get Shadow Panicked, but I actually avoid it, so this time I decide to go after the Altaria, because I know that if I get confused anyway, it won't really matter against the Farfetch'd. Anyway, I win on the first attempt. We climb up the mountain and run into Snaddle once again, and I decide to take down the Quagsire right away because I want to keep the Metang alive. Except I didn't think far enough ahead, and I didn't really have anything to take down the Scizor easily. So I decided to take them both down, and then I had to take down the Castform because it has Water Pulse and does a lot of damage. And then out came the Starmie, which could probably outspeed me, and the Shadow Sky got put up. But I have to take down the Starmie because, oof, that was about half my health and damage. And the Solrock goes for Shadow Panic, which isn't great, so now I might hit myself in Confusion, which I do. Shadow Rave comes out doing about a fifth. I survive, so there is still a chance. I hit myself in Confusion and lose. Okay, well the very simple solution to this is just to Earthquake on the first turn. That brings out both the Scizor and the Solrock, which is definitely easier to work with. I go for Hidden Power and get a crit to take down the Solrock. It would have probably been a 2-shot, so I do think the crit there. I take down both the Scizor and the Castform, and then all that's left is Starmie, which I already know I one-shot with Earthquake. It's just faster than me, so as long as it doesn't crit, I take it down. Okay, well with that we move on to Ardos, and this one might be very difficult depending on the Swallow. Because the thing is I have to take down this Alakazam. It does a ton of damage. So I do just that. Then out comes Kingdra. And Kingdra is another Pokemon that I have to take down because it's going to use Hydro Pump on me and probably destroy me in a single hit. Luckily, I am able to take it down with Earthquake. Out comes Heracross. Heracross is a little bit of a threat, but it always uses Rock Tomb first. Unless I'm at a low enough health to where it can just see the one-shot. So it's not immediately dangerous. However, this Electabuzz is, because I know for a fact I'm slower than it, and Shadow Storm takes me down. And at level 66, I get access to the move Mega Horn, a really strong Bug-type move. That is definitely way too late to be useful, so I decide not to learn it, and instead learn Protect over Hidden Power, and into the Ardos fight once again. The main thing to note here is that I am a higher level, and every level the Swallow likes to change its strategy a little. In this case, it uses Shadow Sky on the first turn like it normally does. I go for Protect here, and it's actually using Shadow Half now. And because of that, it's going to be having every one of its teammates' health, and on top of that, it has to recharge every other turn, so I can just kind of use Protect on those turns. However, it's not a solid strategy, because sometimes Swallow likes to change. Luckily this time, it doesn't. And between Heracross and itself, I know I'm already slower than the Electabuzz anyway, so I decide to take down the Swallow. And I'm hoping that I can just get a one-shot on both of them with Earthquake. So I decide to go for Protect here, just to heal up a little more, in case Shadow Storm does a lot of damage to me. And the Electabuzz actually uses Shadow Half, guaranteeing that I can take down both of them. And then all that's left is the Snorlax. And even though I'm pretty certain that Earthquake will be able to one-shot, I go for Protect here anyway, just to get a little bit more health. It does one-shot, and I beat Ardos. We move on to Gorgon once again, and guess what? The strategy is the same. I use Earthquake on the first turn, and then I use Earthquake on the second turn to take down Aggron and Ursaring. And then I use another Earthquake to take down the Walrein and the Poliwrath coming out. And the only real threat on his team is possibly the Mr. Mime outspeeding and critting, because I don't think it can take me down in a single Shadow Storm. So it comes out, and it only did about a third, so a crit would have been safe, and I beat Gorgon on the first attempt. I move on to Eldis. He leads with a Ninjask and a Manectric, and unfortunately I am slower than the Manectric, so it is able to set up Shadow Sky on the first turn. Out comes Salamence, who lowers my attack on entry. I go for Protect here to not get hit by Dig, or the Shadow Rush, and to stall out the Fruity Pebbles. I go for a Double Edge into the Salamence. Shadow Rush does about a fifth, and I'm doing half to it. And for some reason the Ninjask is going to use Silver Wind here. I don't know why it changed its strategy. I didn't level up or anything. But I take down the Salamence, and do level up. Out comes Flygon, and I'm pretty certain I'm able to take it down in a single hit. But I go for Protect this turn, and Ninjask goes for Protect this turn. Okay, well, I messed up the order a little bit. Another Silver Wind, and I'm actually slower than it. I don't get paralyzed, but I also don't one-shot. Okay, well, another Protect, and Dragon Breath hits again, paralyzing me this time. I'm able to take it down. Out goes Marowak, and at this point, I think this is doomed. So I'm just going for as much damage as I can. Earthquake isn't quite a one-shot on Marowak either. And I go for Double Edge, but I get hit with Shadow End. Nearly takes me down. I finish off the Marowak. And at this point, there's nothing I can do against the Lapras. If it sets up Shadow Sky or uses Shadow Storm, I'm doomed. So I take my fate head on. Okay, well with that, I decide to teach Ice Beam over Rock Blast. And even though I really wanted it for the legendary birds, I think that I might be able to do enough damage to not need it. So I get rid of it and go back into the battle. And it goes about the same. I take down the main Ectric, it sets up Shadow Sky, the Shadow Salamence comes out, lowers my attack, Fruity Pebbles fall. I need to use Protect this turn to not get hit by the Ninjask using Dig. More Fruity Pebbles. But now with Ice Beam, I'm able to take down the Salamence in a single hit. Yes, I am. I got a crit there, but I didn't actually need it. Because this is the 4th attempt, and I actually know that it one-shots. No, the biggest issue with this fight doesn't actually come with Salamence. It's the Flygon here, and that's that if I get paralyzed from Dragon Breath, which it has a decent chance to, and it's faster than me, I lose. Because it gives Marowak multiple chances to hit me. Being paralyzed, I can't attack sometimes, or just the Shadow Lapras does a ton of damage to me. So I go for Ice Beam, and it's not enough to finish off the Marowak, unfortunately. It does take me down to about half health. I go for Protect here, heal up what I can before the last Pokemon comes out. Go for Earthquake, finish off the Marowak, and then out comes the Shadow Lapras once again. Now because I'm not so low, it's not going to use Shadow Storm right off the bat. And I actually do outspeed it, so I know I'm able to take it down. And all I need is one more Earthquake to do it. And then all that's left is the Ninjask, which isn't a threat whatsoever. So I go for Double Edge and finish it off. And I beat Eldis. Took quite a few attempts, but not too bad. We move on to the big box legendary, Shadowlugia. And it uses Shadow Storm doing a ton of damage. Luckily, I do about half its health and damage. So I'll be able to finish off, but it takes me really low. Especially going into the final battle. So, I go into it. And he leads with his Shadow Moltres and Rhydon. Hello, other Rhydon. I go for Protect, just to heal up some. And it looks like I needed it. Moltres isn't a one-shot, and I lose. Okay, well that's understandable. I level up to level 77 using rare candies, and Double Edge still isn't a one-shot. So, unfortunately I had to come back to Mount Battle and get 1,000 points to get Rock Blast back, because I think this is the only way for me to do any type of damage to him. So, with that, and many attempts later, I come onto this battle, and the big difference is that at this level, I actually outspeed the Moltres. So I'm not risking burn, crits, or just getting extra damage right off the bat. I go for Earthquake here to take down the Rhydon. It never was quite a one-shot on Executor, but that's alright. It uses Shadow Hold, and I decide to take down the Executor this turn because it's definitely more of a nuisance. Because I can't outspeed the Tauros, it's going to set up Shadow Sky anyway. So I go for Protect here just to stall out the turns a little bit, because eventually I'll be able to start healing again. I go for Rock Blast, and as I found out, Articuno is always a two-shot with Rock Blast. And then out comes Zapdos. And all I need is one last Rock Blast to hit. Now unfortunately, because it is only 80% accurate, and during this attempt I wasn't actually able to call to make it more accurate, I am relying on luck here. Quite a bit more than I'd like, but Zapdos goes down. And then all that's left is the Tauros, and it wants to set up Shadow Sky, so I'm able to take it down with Earthquake, and beat the game. So with that, how did Rhydon do? Well, it beat the game at 11 hours and 41 minutes, and at level 80, and fainted 35 times. So honestly, not too bad, and it didn't really struggle against most bosses other than Lavrina and Greevil. So it definitely did fairly well. The big issue is that it's slow. A lot of battles take a long time, and just moving in general takes a long time. As well as its 4 times weaknesses to both water and grass, and I didn't even mention that it's got a whole plethora of other weaknesses. But, you know, I think that this line definitely does fairly well throughout the game. And it actually finds itself among other Pokemon of its archetype, I guess, like Marowak, Hariyama, Armaldo, Aggron, and Crawdaunt even, I guess. So it's definitely among friends in this tier. And I think the biggest issue is just Rhyhorn really slows it down in the early game because it just cannot deal with Lavrina at all. It's not until very high levels when it's actually able to just scrape by. And on top of that, it struggled against a lot of just easier trainers. Naps, for example, like, yeah, the Murkrow is always a bit of a difficulty for slower Pokemon because it has Astonish, but it couldn't get past its own other Rhyhorn because it just got hit with Mudshot and its accuracy was lowered, so it caused a lot of difficulty. But with that being said, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, consider liking and subscribing, comment down suggestions down below, and, bye.